So this is how you provision a Hadoop cluster on Microsoft Cloud in Windows Azure, right? I go to the portal, I click a few things, I enter the name of the cluster, whatever, and then I can choose a bunch of nodes, give it a password, give it a storage location, and voila. What happens? I've done this before. I end up with a Hadoop cluster. Now, which has, in this example, 24 cores, including the head node. Now, 90% of these clusters on the Microsoft Cloud Platform can be provisioned under 11 minutes. Okay? So it's not going to take you 3 months to provision the hardware, download Hadoop, configure Hadoop, hire an administrator to maintain Hadoop. It'll take you 11 minutes. Okay. So in my example, let's run through a scenario. So as you can see in Hadoop, this is the cluster. What am I doing? And this is the storage account. That's another beauty of using the cloud. Allow me to explain this in less than 30 seconds. In the cloud, you can separate your storage from your compute. And that's very important, because big data means lots of data, right? So you're not going to put everything inside your virtual machines, because that will restrict growth. What you want in the cloud we have is an unlimited sort of scalable platform for storage, because then you can evolve it, manage it, operate it, independent of compute. Okay. So this may not be clear, but I want to establish that fundamental point. You can decouple compute from storage. It's a fundamental principle of scalability. So imagine that so this is my storage that I have. We call them blobs, right? So imagine the following scenario. Microsoft, as you know, in addition to being a software provider, right, we're also a service provider, to make sure I said that, as well as entertainment provider through Xbox, but also a telephone company. Right? I'm not going to say the name, but we are also a telephone company. So that telephone company captures terabytes of data every day for call records. Where does that terabytes of data every day go? To the cloud, to a blob storage. Okay? So for my scenario, let's assume we begin there. Magic has happened. Hadoop has happened. Right? Hadoop clusters have churned. And we have ended up with call data in the cloud. This is a real-life example. I'll be using data that is limited, but it's real. Okay. So in this cloud blob storage, imagine that Hadoop has done its work, and we have put in some sort of aggregated Hive output. Okay. What am I going to do with it? So what? Let's start with Excel. Excel has this new feature called Power Query recently, and Power Pivot from 2010. So Power Query is an amazing thing that will allow you to achieve the first of these steps, discovering the data. So let's go and quickly find the data that we have. You'll see we can get the data from all kinds of places, right? Teradata, IBM, Oracle. But I'll try something different that you may or may not have seen before, which is the cloud. I'm going to choose cloud as my data source, because that's where call data is sitting. And I'm going to enter the name of my blob account. And this is the Hadoop cluster that was sitting in the cloud. And you can see I have all kinds of data. This is the data that I magically know that I want. This is in a format called JSON. JSON is very popular for this kind of things. So for you technical folks, for business folks, don't listen, forget it. For technical folks, we use the Hive JSON serializer, deserializer to output this. But this could be anything. So imagine some kind of data you found through Excel somewhere, in this case, the cloud. So looks like everything is in one field, right? So first thing I need to do is split it, okay? And select the columns, and almost by magic, the few clicks, the thing that was looking clumped is now separate in columns, because as you know, Excel works with rows and columns. We need columns, right? We don't need blobs. So what I have here now is call data, which is showing me a number of calls and call minutes by country in the world. Okay, you're with me so far? Okay. But this is not what I wanted. What I wanted is per capita calls, right? Because big countries have lots of calls, little countries have fewer calls. I want to know what is the call volume per person, because I'm trying to market this to countries where per capita call volume is low. Simple. So how am I going to get population data for countries, right? Who knows? Let's go back to Power Query, and let's use this thing called online search. Now, this is a capability where somebody has gone through and created a curated set of data, either from public sources like Wikipedia, data.gov, that 100,000 data sets, or from enterprise sources. I don't care. All I want to know, anywhere in here, is there anything that says population by countries? I don't want to scour the web. Looks like a bunch of data sets exist that's giving me population by country. I'll just pick the first one. Why not? And stuff will happen. And now I have country and population. Population is the second column, right? So where am I? I had country and calls in one sheet, and I have country and population in another sheet. What do I need to do now? Connect the two. Remember step 2, which is connecting stuff, right? How am I going to connect one thing with another thing? Let's see. So again, Power Query has this feature called merge. So this was my call sheet, and I want to connect countries with the other sheet that also has countries. Sounds reasonable? And it's telling me 57 out of 65 matches were found. I am happy, I guess. And let me expand. This is the new table that was joined. I will simply pick population. And I have everything, almost everything, in one so-called table. Right? I could load it to a data model later on. But this still doesn't solve my problem. I need to divide this row with this row to get calls per capita, right? So that's not very hard, fortunately. I can insert a new column. I can choose that row, divide by population. And since I don't like decimals all that much, I'm going to multiply it by 100 just because I like integers. And lo and behold, I'll have a calculated column. Now, this is not too exciting, but trust me, this kind of mundane ETL stuff is a huge time saver. And you don't have to get out of Excel now to do these things. And while I was doing all of this fun stuff, behind the scenes, Excel was capturing all of these steps. And there is a new language in Excel called M. We don't want to learn another language, but if you do, those are the steps that I was doing. So whatever I'm doing on, I don't know, 50 rows, you could do it on 1,000,000 rows. You could do it on 10 million rows because I can play back. Okay. So I'm just trying to shape my data. Shape the data first before you can analyze it. This is a non-trivial problem. Trust me, guys. So now I have ended up with calls per capita. If I had nothing better to do, I could go and use normal standard Excel capabilities to plot this stuff. Okay? But let's do something more. There is a new capability for visualization in Excel these days called Power View. So let's see what Power View can do. Okay. Insert Power View. And I'm going to take, forget filtering, I'm going to take the country. I'm going to forget about all this other stuff. And I'm going to take the per capita. Okay? And I'm going to say just map this thing. Okay? And looks like we have lots of things happening in Europe. And so which one of these look biggest to you? Well, this is 45. This is 50. So that seems bigger. So what is this country? Estonia, right? And if I actually go and sort this, you will see Estonia actually has highest per capita call density for this particular telco company. Can you guess why? Free coffee? Or free calls? Calls are free. Because it was invented in Estonia. Did I say too much? Okay. 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 Let's do what else, let's see what else we can do. In the interest of time, I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I could do, let me just, okay. Another thing I could do, if you say, yeah, Jamil, that's not really, I could have done it myself faster. Okay. This is not really interesting. Okay. Then I would introduce you to this new capability called Power Map, where once again I can choose the country, map it, and choose my calls per capita. And I should not do this twice. So remove, close this, and basically this is going to give me a three-dimensional view of the per capita calls, right? And it again looks like Estonia was pretty high, okay? And if this doesn't look impressive to you, because I'm not a good graphic artist, let me show you the possibilities when it's really done professionally. Okay, another 30 seconds or so, showing you the heat maps. Okay, I'm going to pause the video, but, well, it's almost over. But you can see what kind of capabilities you can get using the latest visualization tools. Okay, so where are we? I'm going to speed up a little bit. So if we think about these, so we saw how to discover the data. Now, we did not model the data all that much, so I sort of skipped step 2. We have a technology called Power Pivot, which is a in-memory analytics engine where you can store millions of rows. Excel, as we know, has a million-row limit natively, but you can use Power Pivot to store millions of rows and do lightning-fast analysis. That's Power Pivot. You can also define relationships. I skipped that. We looked at a few visualizations. But then, now that I have figured out my key insight that's going to make me rich and famous, I have to share it, right? So the way we share it, we will save it in a SharePoint site in Office 365 in our portal. And again, in the interest of time, I have already done that. In fact, I have done something more. I have used Google Chrome browser to show you that this is actually cross-platform, and you can consume it from anywhere. So interest of time, again, this is the spreadsheet, right, that I have stored in the portal, in this case, cloud, so that I can share it with people. And again, I can see a few things. I can share. I can have people follow changes. So all kinds of collaboration stuff can happen automatically via this portal for the spreadsheet that I just created. Okay? No tricks. So far, this is all standard. Now, I'm going to do a little bit jujitsu now. And this is a preview product called Q&A. Remember, we talked about, in fact, why don't I show you again, that after doing sharing, you want people to interact with the data, right? And once again, you don't know what questions they will ask. So you cannot just give them canned reports that they will just look at and print, right? You have to have interactivity because you cannot predict the questions. So here I did a little bit of jujitsu, not on the calls data because that's very simple, but on Olympics data, right? So I had an Olympic spreadsheet. I always forget the questions, so I'll have them here, which I uploaded, which went through the same process, data processing stuff that you just saw. But since there's a lot more data on it, I can ask some questions as follows. So first of all, show me the number of medals in the last Olympics. OK. So what? 15,000 plus medals. Show me medals by country. Okay? Notice how it switched the visualization automatically. This is an interactive query. The system did not know I was going to ask that question. So show me medals by country. How about by sport? Okay. So looks like most medals were won in athletics. Again, notice the visualization flip. So how about by sport, by country? OK. So how about I want to know which country had highest medal count? Okay. Do you guys have a question? Medal per capita? Come on. OK. This is definitely not going to work. OK. So, but let me try. What is number of medals per capita? I don't think the per capita exists. So give me another one. Come on, guys. Make life easy. By population? OK. So population is not on the system either. How about how many gold medals? How many gold medals? By country? By country. OK? So again, you can train the model. This is not a canned reporting system. By gender. By country, by gender? That should be interesting. By country, by gender. OK. OK. So one other. So and then notice. So this is. So there's one spreadsheet for Olympics which drove these results. I have another spreadsheet which was like, I think, a bar, right? Profitability by bar. So all I want to show you that suddenly, if we start talking about Olympics and start talking about total sales in that bar, the system is smart enough to context switch and go after the right data source. So total sales by year, okay. This is looking very bad for the owner of the bar. So why is it so bad? Let's look at the popular drinks, right? How about by year? I want to understand why performance is going down, right? So this is telling me that this particular thing, Absolute vodka, I guess, consumption is actually going down. So this is not a very good sign. So I want to understand more about what in God's name is happening. And this is giving me a percentage view by year of the various drinks that are being sold in that bar. And I can see for 2013, this seems to be the most popular. So I can adjust the balance, hopefully, to maximize my profitability, since I'm going to run into trouble.